But who better than me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the casual stream with your host, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Yeah, we're here on a Thursday. Obviously, I thought I had something to do tomorrow, so I mean yesterday. So the casual stream got moved. My plans for yesterday kind of changed, but that allowed me to get something else done that needed to be done. I know I said I was going to try and get a video popping for you guys, but yeah, that didn't quite happen just due to time commitments and work and all that other stuff. So yeah, generally speaking, as you lot know, this will usually be on a Wednesday. I like to try and keep the schedules, compact. But yeah, we've got that. We will. There will be obviously base picks tomorrow. Actually, I'm trying to think. I think the only card that we've got tomorrow is the Queensbury card that you're called. I'm still waiting for my accreditation for that, by the way. There's a new guy at Queensbury who is the one that sends out all of the accreditations and stuff. And I've actually noticed since he started, I haven't received any. Interesting. Although to be fair, I can't really go to much stuff these days anyway, as you guys know. But just because I can't go doesn't mean I wouldn't like to be invited. You know what I mean? But no, there's obviously certain events. I got my response for the Wembley edition Riyadh season card. Yeah, I'm not getting to that. I'm not surprised, but I'm not sure when my next accreditation may happen, if I'm gonna be real with you. But yeah, with that being said, let me get to the chat, see the people, because obviously I want to get into, there's quite a few topics I want to talk about tonight, mostly in and around the talk sport conversation between Turkey Al Sheikh and Simon Jordan and Jim White. Also, several purse bids that haven't seemed to come to fruition for various different promoters, not even just like Eddie Hearn. Obviously, he normally is going to get the flack for the amount of purse bids that don't get one, but he's not the only person that ain't had their purse bids successful as of late. Also, I want to talk about this potential, what they call it, Latin Nights card that Oscar De La Hoya may be putting on, with potentially the headline being Zurdo Ramirez and Chris Billam-Smith. There's a few things to get in, and I'll keep to that. I'm going to keep my thoughts to that for a bit later on, because all I know is there was a mandatory that was called for purse bids, and last week the purse bids got they got postponed by agreement of both teams requesting for a 10-day extension. Those 10 days aren't quite up yet, but that's, I guess, what we've got to look for next. But before I get into anything else, let me greet everyone who's in the chat, and then we're going to get straight into it. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about. So, man like Philip Answer, number one in the building. As always, I've come to expect it now. You've set a standard, Philip. You are on a certain level of excellence, which I do not expect you to drop below. So yeah, shout outs to you. Man like Mulla in the building. Shout out to you. North Bank Bren in the building as well. Jam Down 187. Peace and love every single time. Skyliner the editor. Shout out to you. Jonah 31 in the building. Hot Pies and I Lucan as well. Big ups. Again, I know that a lot of people would have been expecting this yesterday, so but I'm happy for any and anyone that does show up for these. And I know. Tell me, Philip, which is your favorite setup? Because obviously we've got three. We've got, as you like to call it, couch base. You've got studio base, and I won't say the third one because it sounds mad pausey, but there's that other version as well. Now, what's your favorite setup? I'm trying to see if I can create a little space in this house where I can, just call my own. At the minute, when it comes to this, I'm kind of all over the place because there's no real setup that I'm properly feeling. But might have to do a little Ade move and just create a little corner that's just for me. Yeah, I see man like mother laughing. Yeah, because he knows I can't. Yeah, because in a room full of man, the third version, I can't really like just Yasmin's not here, Emma's not here, Karma's not here, so I can't be promoting the third, sort of the third version. But yeah. Oh, shout out to Hot Pies for 199 super chat. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Every little and every lot helps. So it's very much appreciated for you. Yeah, Jungle, yeah, keep the third base for the gal them. Of course. North Bank Ade is giving away his mic, get in contact with him base. You know what? Funny enough, I messaged Ade earlier on, not about the microphone. Although I'll be real, I'm not ready for the mic yet. Not that it's not a good mic, it's a great mic. But number one, I ain't really got the setup where I can put that mic somewhere and have it comfortable. And there's too many accessories. And at the minute, I'm working on minimalist settings. Look, we're only just about now using laptops instead of my phone. I don't know which one of those I prefer though. I kind of prefer the phone because I'm just doing everything in shot, whereas here obviously I'm looking at the camera, I'm looking down at the chat, you've got to type, there's a lot there, but shout out to man like, oh, I ain't seen you in a little while, the green chair versus the brown chair, winner takes the mic. I think the green chair wins every time, and look, the iconography of the green chair. Anyone can have a brown chair in the house, but green, you got to be special to kind of pull that off. And I guess with with Ade being a true Niger man, green is one of his favorite colors. Can we call as in call in today, or do you mean call the battle? Because I'll quite happily put a link in later on. True, his mic has more parts than a car engine. Yeah, I don't know it. I was dealing with a busted up car engine yesterday with my uncle, of fixing up a car to sell on, and yeah, there's a that's not a work I wanna deal with. I didn't miss it. I know the message. I know you said you think Couchbase is the better one. I was kind of getting through some other chats, but nope, I acknowledged it, don't worry. Mentally, I had it in the head. Side 2, I'm going to send you a next film trailer. Okay, yeah, and I will watch it. I might even watch it live. Because actually film trailers are cool because they don't actually they have fair usage on them, so you can actually run those on the chat. So let me see. Okay, cool. Well, we're a good solid 9 minutes in now, so the main people who are here. Everyone else can sort of jump in afterwards, and we'll do little recaps through and through. But yeah, as we normally will do about this kind of time, is get into that first topic. So, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh went on TalkSport, I believe this was Monday, and he spoke at length with Simon Jordan and Jim White. One thing I have to... Okay, Simon Jordan made some excellent points. His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh made some excellent points. Jim White was just kind of there, as he is. But there is a pet peeve I have with Simon Jordan, and I might be guilty of it as well, in a lesser extent. But don't get me wrong, I've got a wide vocabulary, and sometimes I like people to know that I have a wide vocabulary. But he finds it very hard to just get to the point. Like, everything has to be a context within a conundrum, wrapped around a diverse situation. We can't just have ask a question, get an answer. He has to go from A to Z, then over to T, then over to B, back down to W before you finally get to C. I mean, I just want I just want to, ask a question. Like, I don't need to know your feelings on the vociferous nature of the plights that are taking place in Saudi Arabia and the potential agendas that they may have. Like, just ask the man the question. Like, and the worst thing is, and I don't know if Danny for Fight Fan TV is here, but there was a time he interviewed or he tried to get a couple comments, a couple sound bites from one of Alexander Usyk's team. He was doing like a media scrum. And he came in there and he started talking with a very, very wordy sentence. It wasn't even necessarily like it was all thesaurus based, but it was a wordy sentence. There was a lot in there for the man to have to go and translate, and then to the point where the guy didn't even really understand what he's talking about, and then he had to repeat himself. And I said to him, look, when you're interviewing people where English ain't their first language, you can't be doing all that wordy stuff, all of that, like, just to show that you've got a wide range of skill, like, or to try and give extra context. You've got to come with questions that are simple to answer, and they can just get the point across. And that's what I did when I spoke with Jean Gelet. That's what I've done when I've spoken with a couple of like Spanish fighters, Portuguese fighters. Obviously I don't see many of them, but sometimes even fighters that ain't, for lack of a better word, like that intelligent, like all of the that just kind of gets lost in the noise. Like, just get to the point. Anyway, a little bit of the rant over. So you had His Excellency Turki basically saying that he wants to find a good price for a good price for the pay-per-views so that more people will come to them. He says, if we give pay-per-view with good price, then that will give more people will buy and not stream it illegally. Now, I agree, and I've seen some people basically say, oh, well, yeah, but what about the economics? Because if you drop the pay-per-view price, then you have to sell 3, 4, 5 times what you were selling before to make the same money or to have the economics make sense. Well, the thing is, there's so many people that have quite openly said time after time after time that for right now, the Saudis are not caring about the money. They're not caring about the profit that they're making from each of these events. So when he says, I would much rather have 1 million people watching for $20 than maybe 500 or less for 40, yes, that makes sense, because even if you have the 500 and they're 40 and you make the same money, you've got more eyes on the event. If the event is good, then word of mouth generates, and then you get more people possibly come in the next time because they can come in at a price that they're comfortable to afford as well. And that's how you build, and that's how you build. Now, there is a danger to it, and it's nothing to do with the economics. The danger is if they drop the pay-per-view price, they might do more events that have pay-per-view. Now, within Riyadh season alone, since October last year, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we've had 7. I think we've had 7 Riyadh season cards, with 2 more already on the docket, all pay-per-view, all on DAZN, and yes, they're on other platforms as well. But that's a lot of pay-per-views in the span in less than a year. I believe it's 7. Let's see. There's obviously Fury Usyk. There was Crawford and Madrimov. There was Day of Reckoning. There was Fury and Ngannou. There was Joshua and Ngannou. Wait, was it? Yeah, I think was it? There's another one that I'm missing. The February card. No, the March card. I think it was 3 if you include Usyk and Fury too. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Totally right, Mother. Actually, I wasn't even thinking of that one in my head. But yeah, I was thinking of the ones that are actually there already on the docket. But yes, you're 100% right. So I think they did. Okay, yeah. So maybe they done 5. Maybe it's not 7. Maybe it's 5 there plus these 2, 7 plus. So that's 8. Let's say that's 8 within a 14-month span. Plus, you've got the Canelo pay-per-views that's on the zone as well. And there's been 2 of those in that same time span. Plus, there's a third one coming up next week. Yeah, and I think, we're not counting Misfits and all that other stuff, but that's a lot. So even if they are all, for the thing is, a lot of those outside of the Riyadh season cards, the majority of those were kind of like 19-ish pounds anyway. So unless they all drop down to say 15 or 12.95, the difference of that extra £5, yes, it's it's substantial, because £5 is £5. Trust me. Like the way that I just be spending like £5 out of nowhere, it feels like I ran the on RKO or something. I'll just be looking in my bank and £5 is gone. I'm like, what did I buy for £5? Like today, I bought a bottle of I bought a smoothie, a protein bar, and a packet of gum, and it cost me like £5.30. So yeah, like £5 it just flips anywhere. So yes, the extra £5 helps, but like I will more notice if you drop £10 off my pay-per-view price. If it's $14.99 or $14.95, I will notice that more than a $19.95 from say 23 or over 24 to me. But yeah, in America, I know it's a much more substantial decrease if it drops. If he says with good price, I would assume when he says £20 in the UK, or for instance, when he said the pay-per-view is going to be £15 and better be £15 in the UK and $15 in America. All right, the conversion on that one makes we're paying more, but that also being said, considering the fact that it's a card in America that they have one American and he's not really the most exciting person for the casual audience, maybe you do have to make that one cheaper for them, especially when the main event is getting shown for free anyway. But yeah, kind of moving forward, if you say, well, these pay-per-views are usually £60, $60, $65, $70, $80, and in some weird cases right now $90 is the next Canelo and Berlanga one is. Yeah, you drop that down to sort of $30 a pop, $25 a pop, I think you will get more people buying the pay-per-view, because they're not going to take the chance with the laggy streams. If they can, if this is about if you can afford it. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not here talking anyone's finances. If you can't afford the $15 or the $20, like you've got issues that are more pressing than boxing at this point. And I say that with all genuine sincerity. Like you don't need to be trying to purchase a pay-per-view if like that's really going to cripple your pocket at that point in time. Like take care of what you need to take care of. There's been times, I'm not going to lie to you, there's been times where I've been like, boy, is this pay-per-view really worth it at this point in time? Just for whatever reason. Most of the time, I've still managed to do what I've needed to do to watch, especially if it was for a watch-along or something like that. But there was a period of time from last year to the start of this year, like I was not working. This channel was pretty much my sole source of income, minus some other little bits and pieces, which obviously we won't go into, but like the money, there was no sustainable money, and I had to decide, was these pay-per-views actually worth it at the time when I've got everything else I need to take care of? Savings only take you so far, like that rainy day money only takes you so far. You got to decide on what's more important. And yeah, those £20 pay-per-views, £24, they weren't the priority. Somehow I still managed to make a lot of them work, but like I said, so yeah, in that sense, I totally get someone who's looking at a pay-per-view that's like say $90, $80, which works out to £58, £60, etc. Yeah, maybe that £60 could be spent somewhere else. But if £20, if that's somewhere where you still feel like you need to stream, then yeah, as I said, you probably need to be doing something else other than watching that event in the first place, because and that's coming from someone that's been there. But yeah, I hope that they can do it where you get someone where it can obviously bring a lot more people into the fold, get more eyes on the product, and make it to a point where those people then tell a friend who tell a friend who then they come and maybe they will get a subscription, they will purchase and make it grow. Because if you can show that the numbers are high with like a reasonable, well-to-do price, then generally speaking a lot of the other people and the other organizations will have to follow suit as well. And ultimately I think that's what we're really after here. We need more than just like one organization dropping the paper, that they need to drop across the board. Preferably we do need somewhere it's free to air, because you have to also remember it's not just pay-per-view. That the zone specifically, some people are month to month. I'm not. I'm a yearly subscriber, so I don't really have to worry about the month to month cost. But you've got month to month with Sky. I don't, as far as I'm aware, Sky don't do like year in year out. And even if they did, that's probably looking at about £600. I think some people are paying £70 a month, £80 a month for that. So TNT Sports is another subscription. You know what I mean? So and in America, ESPN Plus is a subscription. Now Amazon Prime, that's a subscription, even though that's not really what people go boxing for. But there's that. All of these different subscriptions, they all cost money outside of. So it's not like you're not even getting anything really for free, like free to air. It's actually just free with your subscription. So I would like to see, outside of good pay-per-view price or pay-per-view with good price, as Turkey has said, I want more on the schedule, because that's something we did speak about the other day. Like, there needs to be more sustained quality just on the actual schedule, which we were getting for a while. Last year was a lot of actually pretty good fights on the schedule. This year there's been some fun fights, but there hasn't actually been any fights on the schedule where you look and the first thing you thought was, oh, I can't wait to watch that one. There's a lot of fights like, oh, I didn't really think about that one. Well, it's on, I'll watch it. And then it ended up being great. Like Ortiz Boatruk, like, don't get me wrong, great fight. Glad it came on, glad I watched it, but it wasn't a fight that we were jumping up like, oh, we must see this fight. It was a part of the schedule. But maybe we just need a bit more of those, like those big-ish events where you say, oof, oh yeah, that's a fight I've been looking forward to, or that's a fight I've been waiting for, and it's on my a subscription. That's my kind of opinion on it. Go through the chat and see what you guys think in that. But ultimately, I like where Turkey's going with that. It's just, I don't want it to be an excuse. Oh, well, yeah, but we dropped the pay-per-views, and so we put on twice as many. So ultimately, like, you're still paying the same. it's just like, it's like Klarna. Instead of paying £40 at this time, you're just going to pay 20 now and 20 later, but you're still paying the same 40. Hot pies, bro. That Joshua Dubois promo was terrible. The Riyadh season 1 that dropped. No. I disagree. It was a good. Don't get me wrong. The Sweet Caroline singing kind of threw me off initially, but the promo was actually good if you deep the concept. Like, I don't know if you really got into the concept of it, but it was basically, look, it's saying boxing's dead, isn't it? Or boxing's been dead. With like we're now resurrecting it. We're bringing it back to its former glory. We're bringing it to the promised land. That's basically the gist of it. So I appreciated it. Like I said, the whole Sweet Caroline part, maybe I could have done without that, especially seeing Daniel Dubois singing from the tub. But no, I thought it was a good promo. It's just, but you had to just kind of, yeah. If you got it, you got it. That's my opinion. But I'm happy to be told I'm wrong in the chat. And I think Philip has agreed with hot pies. I agree. It was so unnecessary. Philip, I bet PBC won't be doing that. I wonder, are you talking about the promo, or are you talking about PBC won't be dropping their prices? Because I definitely agree with you on that. And the promo, I mean, they don't no one has actually done promos the way that Riyadh have. Like they're literally like film trailers. Well, free if you include Usyk Fury. Yep, totally right. Shout out to Michael before. Been a while since I've seen you. Why am I not nervous of Daniel beating AJ like I was with Francis? Does Daniel really have a chance? Because I think AJ destroys him. Everyone has a chance, but it's just the things that Daniel does well. Realistically, AJ does better. And you know the attributes he has, just they're better. The only difference in the situation is that Daniel's younger, and so should have a bit more freshness and be, you know, a bit more relaxed. That would be sort of my thoughts on that. If we're going to be real, but yeah, that's kind of what I would say about the situation. I'm also not. I haven't given my prediction yet. Maybe 2 weeks time when I see the you know how they're looking, how they are on the scales and that sort of stuff. I may think different, but right now I'm pretty comfortable to give you my basis pick that I think Anthony Joshua wins that and wins it quite comfortably. But again, things can change. I've done that before. I've given an initial thought and then I've gone on basis picks, and then all of a sudden it's been different. So you never know. But yeah, quite frankly, I think I'm not going to say I think it's easy work for AJ, but I don't think I can't see what Daniel does in this fight. Every other fight I've seen a way where he can win. This one, like I said, I'm finding it difficult to try and work out exactly how he gets it done. But yeah, look, I'm happy to be proven wrong. I mean, look, if Daniel wins, that actually opens up the division quite perfectly, and it stops any kind of stagnation that takes place. Star Fox, shout out to you. Star Fox WR45E, thank you very much for being in the building today. Muller, this year UK boxing has taken a serious back step with the big promoters. Yeah, and if you want to be real, if we're going to be totally honest, look, there's quote unquote the big three, but you know, Frank Warren might be just saying it's only Big Meat right about now because he's the only one really repping for the UK. Yeah, there's a lot of it's been the York Hall shows and stuff, but he's getting people that are active, regular, and he's putting out sustained content. Matchroom and the Zone for the UK side of things ain't been doing too great, if I'm gonna be real. They've had some decent events on and they've had some fun fights. I still think they've delivered one of the fights of the year this year with Connor Walker and what's his name, Felix Crocker. I think that's one of the fights of the year on a great card in Birmingham. I remember I was there. It was a fun night. I've been to several of their cards this year. The one that was at the Indigo 2 was a fun little card with Craig Richards on there as well. But there just hasn't been any really standout UK cards. And okay, they had two which have now fallen through, so you can't really say too much about that. But ultimately, they ain't been doing great. However, the biggest culprit of this year, if we're gonna be honest and keep it 100, is Boxer, because outside of the card Wardley and Clark, which hats off them, was a very good card. The only fight that didn't really deliver on there was the Vidal Riley and Mikhail Lawal fight, but obviously Vidal, he got his rib broken like round 1 or 2, so he decided just to box on the back foot. But the rest of the card good, and there was a good level fights on there. But after that, like every other card that they put on, there's pretty much been a dud. And I say that knowing that the actual card for Billum Smith and Riakporhe was actually a very good card on paper. So I can't look and be after the fact and this was always shit. Like, I'm not saying that, because the card was supposed to be. I went there like, oh, this is going to be a great card. I can't wait to go. I went there and I was bored out of my mind. Now, admittedly, I will say, as a lot of you know, like the day before that card, I just suffered a very, very real family tragedy. So maybe my head wasn't in the right space to be quote unquote entertained. But I know that I've had things happen to me before, and a good night's action has brought me out of my funk or brought me some temporary joy, and that just didn't deliver. So yeah, I mean, Boxer are the ones that have really got to step it up this year. And now that they've got the keys to the Saudi to the kingdom to a degree, or at least like the day pass, like now there's even less stuff coming on their broadcast. You've got to the point where you've got Ben Shalom all talking about Ben Whitaker, who's going to be headlining a card in the States in December if he comes through October the 12th. Why is he not headlining at Wolverhampton or Birmingham, or like in the Midlands, where you said he would be headlining before? Why is he headlining in the States? Like, you've got a big stable to do that. If it wasn't for the top rank deal with Sky Sports at the point, there would be virtually no reason to be trying to watch UK boxing on Sky. I can't even remember. I think they must have done about 3 shows this year. Maybe it was more. I only remember 3. One of them was the Lauren Price show, Wardley Clark, and Riakpo and Willem Smith. If there's any others, please let me know, because I don't remember them. And that in itself is a damning indictment. And that, I'm not gonna lie, that Lauren Price McCaskill card was that was trash. Shout out to Philip. The US pay-per-view price for AJ versus Dubois is $19.99. Good for the people over there at Stateside. Well, it needs to be that, because again, there's nothing on the card that's really for them. So, you know what I mean? It has to be that. We need more Joyce Zhang type fights. Yes, on the regular subscription, 100%. Shout out to D-Star Boxing in the building. Guys, if you ain't subscribed to D-Star, make sure you do. He's the rant extraordinaire. Although I do think he needs to turn down his mic, because the level of distortion on there when he gets angry and animated is sometimes it's a bit much. But shout out to D-Star, and I will be on the round table, I think next week or the week after. One of the I think it's the 200th episode. But yeah. Philip, I was talking about the price. Okay, yeah, makes sense. North Bank, I disagree. The promo was awful. I hear that. Well, I hear that. I like the iconography and the icology behind it, but I understand if it wasn't for everyone else's taste. But yeah, I sort of got the hidden message. Whether it was executed well or not, I'll leave that to you guys. Riyadh season promos have been amazing. Yeah, they have been for the most part. I question if the short story style of promo actually works for marketing to actually translate to buys, but they're great short stories. Yeah, I mean, well, we say that a lot of films they live and die by the trailer that sort of gets the casuals into it. A lot of people will look at the if they knew about the film anyway, then they're ready to go. But you get the trailer, and that's what kind of brings them to the forefront. So I agree, though it will be interesting if it does translate into buyers, but at least it will translate into some metrics, some engagement online to start off with. The Indigo card was decent. I think that should be used more. I enjoyed the atmosphere. Yeah. That's the second time I've been to a boxing event at the Indigo too, and I also went to a kickboxing, like a kickboxing / boxing hybrid event there back in, I think it was 2022 or early 2023. The atmosphere in the Indigo like lends itself well to that, and there's not a lot of space to kind of go around. So yeah, 100% agree. The Wild doesn't come to fight. He's looking for just the one big shot, and that's it. I remember asking you not to talk about the card because I remember when I left early, and somehow I still couldn't get out of there quick enough, but I still saw you in the parking lot, and I kind of, I agreed. We barely spoke about anything apart from the main event because of how bad the card was, but there was a duty to have to do that. Thank you very much to D-Star for the $5. I appreciate it. Maybe they think Whitaker will be a hit in the US like Prince Hamid was, but I doubt it. Even if that's the case, and you know what, maybe they do think that. And look, he had the viral moment, the hundreds of millions of views and whatever. They might market him like that special, but He needs to continue building his fan base over here. Like, there's no reason for him to be going America yet. Like, go to America when when you're at that world level stage, when go over there to win your first world title or your first major like ranking belt, like your WBC silver or something. Start there, but establish your home base first. And I'm not blaming Ben. Like, obviously he's going to go where the money is. I'm pretty sure they're paying him a pretty penny to go over there and do what he's doing. But again, the same way I said before, I don't really agree with him being on the Riyadh card. The same as I don't agree with Chris Eubank Jr. being on there, because the fights that they've got, one is a keep busy, one might be a step up on paper, but neither of them are fights of any consequence. So I don't need an 8-fight card with 2 fights on there that don't really need to be on there when they should be headlining their own cards in the UK that regular people can go to, especially when you haven't sustained and been providing a decent enough schedule for the paying public. That's just my thoughts on it. Okay, but with that now out of the way, I need to talk about this whole first of all, we talk about this whole Boots and Brian Norman Jr. situation. And while we talk about that, we're also going to incorporate this last the last purse bid situation, because I think some people are kind of, yes, okay, you can look at it in isolation. It's another purse bid that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom lost. They lose so many, etc., etc. But I'll get into that in a second. So this whole thing with Brian Norman Jr., Senior, and his manager, whose name I can't remember, nor do I care to remember it, because he was talking a whole load of stupidness when I saw him on the Boxing Voice. Ultimately, he's basically saying that the reason they wanted 2.2 million is because, right, so they got to pay Top Rank, who obviously get their fee from it. Okay, then he's got to pay his world-class trainer and his world-class manager. Okay, well, his dad trains him and you're his manager. No offense, but I ain't never heard of either of you before. So you, ultimately, you could sort that out between each other. I highly doubt it. They drew up contracts saying I must get 15%, I must get 10%. Like, I'm sure you're just gonna make it how you make it, right? And ultimately, you all kind of eat together. So there's that. Then there's state tax and stuff in Philly that's higher than in Vegas. So we have to pay more. We have to pay more tax on our cash. Well, that's just a circumstance of life. Like, everywhere has higher taxes or lower taxes depending on where you live, and some places are lucky enough to not have any taxes. Why should the opponent's promoter be the person to basically make sure that you can pay all these fees when they're already giving you they're literally giving you a fee that is 17 times more than you've ever earned? How in God's name can you then say you're being lowballed? Lowballed with what? Okay, now let's just assume that you were given 100,000 on your baseline, but then you have another 100,000 was given to you under the table outside of taxes. Yeah. Okay, let's say that is the case. All right, so it's not 17 times your highest. It now becomes, what we're talking, it would be 8.5. Okay, 8.5 times your highest purse. Where else are you getting that money? Now you're fighting on an undercard for what? 150, 200, maybe 300. Please hold the line for me a sec. Someone's at the door. Gotta go get that. Give me a moment. Sorry about that. Yeah. Hold on a minute. No, it's not Deliveroo. It's actually Amazon. It's a present for somebody. I'll get back into my thoughts in a moment. Let me just finish this. But yeah, obviously, as always, Carmen, shout out to you. Wasn't Norman's last payday like? I think it was probably 100,000 plus a little bit under the table. But again, 1.7, which was confirmed, because a lot of people said, "Oh, you was only offering him like 1.4 something." They went on there and said it was 1.7. So from you've never seen that kind of money in your life, okay, you're saying, "Oh, well, I was only going to get 810,000 after all taxes and deductions." Only. Okay, that's 8 times more than you've ever earned. And technically, no, that's not even 8 times. That would be, if we're looking at taxes, because if you had the 100,000, you got taxed on that 100,000, right? So chances are you only saw about 68,000 of that 100, yeah? So in actual fact, you're still at this point earning about 10 to 11 times more than you've ever earned before. At the age of 23, why do you think that 810,000 after tax is something to be sniffed at when you've never seen that kind of money in your life, and you may never see that kind of money in your life? And you know, after the couple fights I've seen, I think he's a good fighter, but I don't think he's like top of the tops. He may never see that kind of money again. Who can he make that money with? Like Cuevas, he ain't making it with Cuevas. He won't even make that money with Teofimo, because they're not going to put that fight on pay-per-view. Teofimo's going to want the lion's share. He's going to be the A side. You might only get about 500,000-600,000 against Teo. And guess what? You got to pay tax on that as well. So the whole argument, all because, because Boots made 3.9 in his last one. Yeah, but they overpaid on the purse bid to make sure that they got the fight on their platform. This is the unification, which from what we then heard, like Boots was he was getting roughly between 1.7 and 2 million. Eddie Hearn said it was a 50-50 split. So now what's your excuse? Like, it's just bad management. It definitely looks very much like duck syndrome. So that's Eddie at the door. Sometimes I wish these that did a scroll and they just scroll down so you kind of see them in real time. Base, you should be running this game on KG and Trav. I'm a world-class pundit and congestion charges mad out here. Funny enough, I'm actually, there is some talks for me to finally get that pay rise and those days that I asked for. If you guys, anyone who tunes into Undefeated, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's some talks behind the scenes, but I'm gonna leave those people over there on that channel to announce everything. I'm not gonna give away anything I'm not supposed to right now. This Eddie the dog gonna call that let's say a Matchroom not doing well in the UK. The zone at the door with a new purse bid. Well, if it wasn't the right one. World-based Chisora, the deliverer. You guys on top form today, Michael, but for Norman at the door. What do you say about my son? Yeah, I say your son's a duck, or you're a duck, one or the other. Big up Base in the chat. Shout out to Toby Bartlett. Yes, and please, if you haven't hit that like button, please do so. Yeah, D-Star, you're right. Like 17 times the highest purse bid, like that. To me, you can't be so busy watching the next man's pocket to the fact that you then block your highest blessings. Because again, how long is it going to take you to make that 810 after tax? Because that's what we're talking about. How many fights have you got to do for that? That's at least 4. Because you're not getting 400,000 in your next fight, and you're not getting like 400,000 a fight after that. But even if you did, hypothetically, you still only get what 230,000 afterwards, after tax and deductions and paying your world-class manager and your world-class trainer and all of that stuff. Like, it's the same principle. You could have done all of that with one fight. If you lose, okay, so all right, cool, you lost. 23 years old, 24, 25, so you can bounce back, you can come again. But at that point, you make some smart investments, you've set yourself up for life. Buy some properties, and you can kill the game like that. The same way that Tevin Farmer did. Went on bought properties, bought like a property company or construction company as well. He didn't need to box for 3 years. He doesn't even technically need to box now. He does it because he loves the sport. But he was making money quite fine after that. Remember, he went on to Matchroom, 5-fight deal, fought all 5 fights in 1 year. He was like, we'll either re-up this deal, or I'm gonna get all my money up front and do what I'm doing. And that's exactly what he did. Shout out to Tevin Farmer. Why can't and then you're gonna have this fight on this undercard. I guarantee you Brian Norman ain't fighting again till earliest April. 6 months. You know what I mean? It's like, boy. Is that where Tevin is? I wondered where. I mean, he's back now. Don't get me wrong, he's back, but he was, he was off doing his own stuff. He was making money, construction and all that stuff. He was like, yeah, I don't need to box right now. I'm cool. This is Wilder Joshua all over again. American fighters are so hard to make fights happen because there's always a problem. Yeah, they're all entitled. They all feel like they are bigger than they are. And, well, actually, not all of them. Let me not say all, but there's a big percentage that are on just foolishness all the time. And it's mad to think that... I'm sorry, I know certain jobs, I understand certain times you go to a job and like you go there and you're there and you get a promotion and you get this money, but then someone else comes in brand new and they come in on more money than you. Okay, I get that sometimes you feel like if you're doing the exact same job, you should get the exact same parity. But in something like this, where it's about marquee, it's about who's got the fans, it's about who's got the attention, and it's about who's paying for it, you're literally just being given a service. You're having a service fee. That's what you are at this point. In terms of the marketing, you ain't gonna have to go above and beyond to do marketing and all that sort of stuff. All of that's gonna be taken care of by the home team, the home promotion in Philly. So obviously it's gonna be Boots doing the majority of the work. You only got to turn up on fight week. Maybe have a couple of weeks or a couple of days filming so they can do the make the days count programming to see what you've been doing in camp. And then you come for the media on the last week. That's literally all it is. So yeah, like that's one of the, I'm not gonna say it's one of the worst fumbles I've seen, because I've seen worse. I mean, the Deontay Wilder fumble scene, as we're talking about American fighters, that whole 100 million for the zone, 20 million for Brazil, 40 million for Joshua twice. That's the biggest fumble I think I've seen in recent times, because yeah, he bet on himself. The only other fumble I think is worse than that one is the Adam Kovnowski fumble, because he was offered about, what was it, $5-6 million to face Anthony Joshua, then ended up getting in facing Chris Arreola for like 150,000 his very next fight, and then got knocked out like I think 2 fights after that, and ain't never been the same since. So yeah, those are definitely to me the worst fumbles in the game. Those geezers don't have any good sense. Just make some good investments if you're that hell-bent on being a millionaire. There you go, see? That's why I love having Karma here. She knows. She understands. Starbucks, I really need to hear Karma say geezer in her accent. I'm going to put the link in. Maybe she might later. Toby, Tevin's YouTube channel with his wife was funny as hell, but also interesting to see how he was investing his money. Very smart guy. Those are the ones that you want to be taking after, not the ones that think they're prima donnas. And even someone like, look, you guys know, I rate Devin Haney. I rate what he's done in his career, and I think that he could be a person that craft wise, A1. Like, he's dedicated to his craft. He's always, pretty much in shape. Even though I heard that the very last camp was a pretty bad one in terms of preparations, but he tries to do things the right way and has always been professional made way, similar to Floyd Mayweather. So them man in the gym are guys to like pay attention to. But outside of that, because Devin, every time he's like, every time I have a fight, I need to go and buy a new piece of ice or buy a new this and new that, and or wearing these gauntly looking clothes. It's like, ugh. But yeah, you've got guys like Tevin Farmer. Who else? There's a couple others who are like big on just investing that money. Terence Crawford is another one. Invested a lot of his money very wisely into properties, into construction, buying very sort of minimalist stuff, not blowing your paychecks. I think someone like Terence Crawford, when he's finished boxing, is never going to have money problems because he's always been sensible and smart with his money. Like, I think that Tevin Farmer again, I'm not saying he's ever going to be like a millionaire or like multi-millionaire and all that sort of stuff, but he's comfortable. Andy Ruiz, to a lesser extent, he had the construction company, hence why he didn't need to box for those 3 years. Yes, he wanted to make the bags and get the money back, but you know what I mean? So those are the people that you gotta be looking at. Not sort of the flash types that here today, gone tomorrow, nothing but platinum chains or diamond encrusted this and that and this, and all of that's cool for a moment, but guess what? It gets boring, it gets old after a while. Then you're gonna want something else because you're bored of it, you're tired of it. Shout out to KBR11, bit late to the stream. Periphrastic. I didn't even hear him say that. I don't even know how to. Periphrastic is the word to describe Simon Jordan's way of talking. Okay, thank you. Because that one perplexed me. Followed by get the pints in, lad. The shots. Okay, so oh, come on, you're funny. 5 months belated. Philip, Luis Ortiz turned down a title shot from AJ when they were looking for a replacement opponent after Miller popped. Yeah, he was one of them. But he had at least made, I think, near to $1 million with Deontay Wilder in their fight. So he wasn't as bad as Adam Kovnarski, who hadn't, I think, made more than 150,000 prior to that. Danny Garcia, I think, has properties. Yeah, probably. Time is a flat circle. Okay. Okay, so with that now, we had obviously the purse bids. There was 2 purse bids over the last couple of days. So you had Eddie Hearn lost the purse bid with Boots Ennis and Karen Chikadzean. I think it like P2P Sports is the name of Chikadzean's company or whoever like promotes him. Now, I don't even know what the actual purse bid number was. All I know is they said that he lost by $500,000. And obviously you had Brian Norman Sr. and the other guy, the manager. The manager was laughing on, I think it was Instagram. And you had Norman Sr. laughing in reaction, I think, on Twitter X. Now, it's funny because you can laugh, but guess what? The money that they put up for the purse bid, I mean, let's say if Boots is going to get, let's say Boots will get 75%, yeah, or 80%, 80-20, 75-25. His purse for that would still come up to roughly about 1.7. which is the same 1.7 you turned down, which is the same 1.7 he was theoretically supposed to get in the unification with you anyway. And that 1.7 he got is still 17 times more than you've earned in your entire career. Like, why exactly would you be laughing? It makes no sense. And even outside of that, we know full well that Eddie Hearn and Boots, they never put no purse bid in of any serious note because they don't want to take that fight. They will consider their options. Thank you, Karma. P2M Sports. So they bid 2 million and Eddie bid 1.5. Right, thank you. Because I wasn't exactly sure how much it was. So is it 65? I saw somewhere it was 75-25 for this fight. But okay, thank you. So yeah, ultimately, if we're looking at 65% of the split, I mean, what are we looking at? 1.3, 1.4 ish. Maybe he'll get from it 1.3 million, and Chikadze will get like 700,000, give or take. So okay, like he probably won't take the fight, but maybe he might, just for the activity even, because if anything, one thing Boots does need at this point, especially if he's gonna keep making 147 for the time being, is to stay active and to keep his weight down. I'm not saying that, I know that he balloons up, but he's not like a big, he doesn't stay way away from his weight for often, but he needs to make sure that he can, keep making that weight sustained at least for the next 12 months. So yeah, take this fight, get it out of the way, get another fight in sort of March time, and then maybe you finish off your 147 run with a next fight in sort of July, August next year, and yeah, then you can move up to 154. But he might end up moving up now, because maybe they'll find, maybe a Riyadh card will come in and they'll say, oh well, you'll make more money on that than this fight. I mean, look, I know that the reason the IBF did it is because the other mandatory technically didn't come off because Cody Crowley had to pull out. But since the mandatory itself was, I mean, it was honored, it was promoted, it wasn't the champion that came, that pulled out of the fight, they probably should have just reset the mandatory for like another year, 2 years. And then you didn't have to you could have had Chikadze face someone else. Maybe Chikadze should have faced Cody Crowley for the right to be the new mandatory, as opposed to him just having his next fight, which they just deemed the final eliminator, even though that was never spoken about. The IBF do some weird things. I mean, look, they had Sergey Derevyanchenko get 3 mandatory shots in the space of, like, I think it was a year and a half. He was a mandatory initially for Triple G's belt, which he then vacated, so Danny Jacobs won it off of Sergey. Then Sergey won one fight and became the mandatory again for Triple G, and then he won another fight, and I think, and then the other fight he ended up becoming the mandatory with the WBC for Jamal Charlo. It was just like I think that if you kind of need to do more than just sort of get one comeback fight to become a mandatory again. If you're getting a voluntary shot, that's different, but maybe like you should have to go through maybe 2 or 3 fights to become a mandatory again. But look, that's just my thoughts on that. But yeah, ultimately, when you look at that whole scenario and you look at them laughing at them, okay, Bootsy, yeah, that might be money he's not prepared to go through a camp for, possibly. I would personally do it for the activity and to say, well, okay, last time I 12 nilled this guy. This time I'm gonna do one better, and my whole game plan is gonna be, now I know what he does. I'm going in there to lay hands and to put an exclamation mark on the point, and then I'm calling out the champions again. Outside of that, yeah, okay. The thing is, if he moves up to 154, he ain't got no cachet up there, because like you can't force Terence Crawford into a fight, and he's WBA your IBF. You can't use any IBF super status because they don't have it, first of all. But even outside of that, you haven't won an IBF sanctioned bout yet in terms of a unification or a mandatory. You didn't win the belt in the ring. If we're being honest, again, you was elevated to a champion when the former champion moved out. So you've got no claims to the division upstairs. Then the WBO, you're not, Terence Crawford is head of the queue for the WBO, so you're not getting that one. You've got Tim Tszyu, who is taking on Bakram Murtazalia for the IBF. It's like you're not getting ahead of Tim Tszyu at this point because he's got the whole of that Australian money behind him. You might be able to get Tim Tszyu in the ring, but he again is a person that his team, while they've said that we want to work with His Excellency, like they're not desperate for the Saudi bag. So if they can't be enticed by something, so he's gonna go to 154 in a position of weakness, which is unfortunate, which is why they wanted to unify, so that if he unified, he's got more of a stroke and he's got more chance of getting opportunities at the new weight. At this point in time, it's like it's not really the right time to go up there, unless you just want to go up there for a fun fight and you just fight a Virgil Ortiz straight away or a Madrimov. But then, do you want to fight Madrimov coming off a loss? What credit do you get if you win? Unless you knock him out. That's something to think about. Ortiz, well, people think that Boachuk beat him. I don't, but a lot of people think he got beat by Boachuk. But then you can't face Sergey Boachuk because even though people think Ortiz beat him, he still lost the fight. So you're still going up there off of a loss. Jamel Charlo said he's coming back, but he ain't coming back to 154. So who is there for you to fight? You can't fight none of the champions, and you're not going to get credit for any of the other people you face because there's asterisks next to their names. So unless it's about the bag, that's just it. It may have to actually just do a thing where he decides to just bypass 154 and go straight to 160. Maybe go straight for the winner of Danny Garcia and Erislandy Lara, or what's his name, Janibek Anim Khanala, or one of those other 160 guys, because that maybe end up being the move. But then you're running into man like Hamza Shiraz and Tyler Denny and Denzel Bentley and all of these guys that are just, if we're going to be real, probably to him, a lot more problems than they're worth. So, yeah, I don't know what he does at this point in time. I don't envy his choices, I will say that. Also, again, if we're talking about purse bids that, were lost, Top Rank lost the purse bid for, what's his name? The Australian guy. Oh, someone in the chat's going to have to help me out. Mihailovic? Andre Mihailovic or something like that. And who was he supposed to be in with the Janibek fight? And he was supposed to have the fight initially, but Janibek ended up passing out on the scale, so they had to not Janibek Kama, his opponent. I think it's Mihailovic. I think is his name. Andre Mihailovic. But yeah, that in itself, that's another one. So you're like, yo, one sec, peeps. Yeah, so that's going to be a problem in itself, and obviously Janibek is not happy. Andre Mikhailiovic, thank you very much for it, Andre. Yeah, so I knew I had it near enough. And yeah, so obviously Janibek ain't happy about that. He's called out Top Rank on on socials as to why they would lose that purse bid. But again, the last time, I can understand it. Look, they had the first fight. you didn't make weight. They don't want to. They probably don't want to risk extra money because they don't think that you're good for it in that sense. They can't trust you to hit the scales. Now the other team's got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, you might have to go over there, but hey, we get paid. You get your fight. You take care of your mandatory. You get a nice unification afterwards. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's as I said, man, this whole thing, it's just not. As Karma said, he should have made weight. You're right. And if you can't make weight, don't sign the contract. And if you can't make weight, then you're not fighting in the correct weight in the first place. I don't agree with any fighter, quote unquote, killing themselves to make weight. If you come into camp and say that you're and you're 40 or 50 pounds over that weight, and you have to shed like 30-40 pounds, that's not your weight class. I know that there are some, obviously there are some it's a bit different when if you're light heavyweight to cruiser, and you might say, okay, well, I walk around at about 190, 195, and I shrink down to taking off 20 pounds to get to light heavyweight. Okay, maybe. But even that, if you walk, to me, I'm sorry, if you walk around at 195, you don't need to be losing 20 pounds. Like, if you naturally walk around, and we're not talking about you just ate too much. Like, if you naturally walk around at that kind of weight, just work on your skills, work on your technique, and become a cruiserweight in it. That's what I would say, because I don't agree. To me, if you walk around more than 14 to, if you walk anything from 135 upwards, in my opinion, if you walk around any more than, say, 17 pounds above where your fight weight is, that's not your fight weight. Personally, I remember Andre Ward always said he always was within 14 pounds of his fight weight at all times. And I think that's where you should be. You shouldn't, none of your camps should ever be fat camps. You shouldn't be having to get weight off. The weight should just be coming off because you're training, as opposed to you're training to make a weight. That's my opinion. And if that was the case, I think that a lot more of these fights, there'd be a lot more energy. They would have a lot more gas in the tank, because they've got energy reserves. The bodies aren't supposed to be stripped of everything for you to make a weight. The rehydration doesn't bring certain things back. So, people, just got to make a quick transaction. Okay. Did we discuss AJ versus Duarte faces? No, we're going to do that shortly. I'm going to go till 9 o'clock, so I've got another 20 minutes. Ask a shout out, yo, base, what's Matchroom dealing with all their purse bids being done, combinations of 666, 15, 666, 666. They've done it a few times now. I don't know. Yeah, I've got no idea why that is the case. If that is the case, maybe they think that if they was to put 500, then people would, maybe they think someone else is going to do 560, so they just add another 6,000 on there. I don't know. Interesting, but it's not something I'm particularly going to look to get into right about now. Now, okay, so let's talk about AJ and Dubois face-off. So obviously, we all saw the previous clip that was doing the rounds Um, I didn't actually realize how much of the show itself would have been done by um, Eddie and Frank. Because look, AJ's never really needed help in those face off or the gloves are off and stuff. He's, you can always get enough of a rise out of him, especially if you got a Dillian White or a Jarrell Miller or someone else on the other side. Daniel, we know Daniel don't talk, so that was always going to be a tough sell. Hence why it was really good that they managed to get Eddie and Frank in there to sort of do some of the heavy lifting. The thing that was very funny to me about that though was when you look at what Frank said and how the certain things that he had said previously about Anthony Joshua, or like too many trainers and like is he motivated, or questioning the chin and all that sort of stuff. It's funny that like Anthony Joshua literally threw everything back, him and Eddie. Eddie was real quick on the draw talking about, yeah, but you're saying motivation, but Daniel needs his dad in the corner to keep him motivated, to keep his spirits up. Like you say to, oh well, okay, so you labeled that at him or the trainers, and he's done all of these different trainers in this period. Like, what's he doing? Like, he's either knows what he wants or he doesn't. And then you've got Daniel, who again, in less time than Anthony Joshua, if we're actually looking at their pro careers, he's had 4 trainers in 7 years. AJ's had 4 in 12. Like, was it 12? When did he come in? He came in 2013. Yeah, so 11. He's had 4 trainers in 11 years, and Daniel's had 4 in 7. So when you just look at that and you say, okay, well, so the same thing you're labeling at him, you've labeled this way. Now this guy's telling you, okay, but can he take these punches, or his heart, this one, X, Y, and Z? But you question the guy's heart or the guy's chin when, he's not the one that's quote unquote capitulated on the big stage on more than one occasion for whatever reason. There was just a lot in there. And even I like the fact of when AJ said, oh yeah, but I know what you was doing. Like, yeah, he was come from Brazil, innit? Like, he was what was you doing in Brazil? Like, I think that was alluding to, maybe, I wouldn't be surprised if they was alluding to some kind of stem cell treatment, because I don't think you're going to Brazil just to spar. Like, you could have gone to the States to spar. There's no one. It's not like, oh, you couldn't fly a Brazilian boxer over to the UK for sparring if that's what you really wanted. Like, I think he's alluding to, he was probably doing some kind of stem cell or some kind of surgery or procedure over in Brazil, because it wouldn't have been just like some filming. It definitely wasn't that. But I'm not gonna speculate as to what it was, but he's like, yeah, I know what you was doing. Like, I know what goes on. Like, I've got eyes and ears like everywhere, kind of thing. And then I liked when and AJ was like, yo, okay, so what about the sport? Apparently, like, knock me out cold in sparring. Like, let's talk about that. Oh yeah, but sparring. Look, that was years ago. Like, we're gonna fight. No, but you built your whole reputation on knocking out AJ in sparring or knocking him down. All of a sudden, man's there. He said, no, tell people what happened in sparring. And you don't want to tell him that, And at that point, I don't even think Eddie Hearn really knows. He said, oh yeah, we said talk about sparring, but we talked about sparring in the last one. Look what happened with Hrgovic. But he's like, oh yeah, no, sparring. Look, I'm tired. I don't want to be here. Like, and it's just like, no, but you man was real quick to talk with that stuff when I weren't around. Now I'm here. Like, what's good? And even Frank, like, because Frank is the same one used to talk it up as well. So now we have a definitive answer that whatever happened in that sparring is not what they said it was. Because AJ said, yeah, he caught me with a good shot one time. Like, it was a really good shot. But like, I didn't drop, I didn't wobble, he didn't knock me down. Like, it was a really good shot, and we got back to work afterwards. Okay. But the way he talks about that sparring leads me to believe that other stuff happened in that sparring that Daniel don't really want to get out. maybe Daniel's not a great sparrer, because obviously he's had several occasions where, you know, maybe things haven't gone his way in sparring. So yeah, I don't know. But either way, that whole thing was, you know, was very, very interesting. As Khan was saying here, did anyone see the original video that was posted and removed? They trimmed about 3 minutes. I saw the video. You know what, the thing is, I haven't actually watched the one that they re-uploaded, so I only saw the original. I don't even know what's missing from this one. I'd have to go after and actually watch to find out. Shout out to that guy. Big ups to you. I've definitely seen you around before. Ask guy, as you noticed, AJ implied Daniel was up to something whilst he was. Oh yeah, I think I agree with you there. There was something he was alluding to something. I know what you was getting into. Like I know what you. It wasn't just camp. That's what it kind of felt like to me. Well, shout out to you. Thank you. Looks like a first time. I don't think I've seen a comment from you before. Big up, bless up to you. And as that guy says, jab the like button if you haven't already, please and thank you. Philip, it's funny how Joshua questioned them about what they've been saying about sparring, and Frank and Dubois played it like they never spoke about it in other interviews. Yeah, so that's just how you know that a lot of it had to have been capped or majorly exaggerated. But you can also tell that that's one of the few things that annoyed Anthony Joshua, because if it doesn't annoy you, if it doesn't bother you, you don't really address it, unless it's literally just to sun the other person. But it's like he's obviously held on to that same thing for a while. He's like, okay, no, but you used to talk about it a lot. Like, let's talk about it now, kind of thing. So you could tell that was something that he was in his heart. He was like, no. The people have to understand that they was chatting shit. Like, I can't just have a man think, like having everyone thinking that man knocked me out in sparring and I don't address it. Because obviously he could have said anytime, no, he didn't do that as well. But everyone still say, yeah, but we heard he knocked you out. Of course he's not going to say he knocked him out. So no. So now you're going to clear this up in front of everybody. Like, what's good? You know what I mean? So yeah, I appreciated that one highly. Okay, we've got 10 minutes left. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we need to... All right, any other topics? We can have 10 minutes of non-boxing topics if people want to do that. Also, I'm going to throw a link in the chat for anyone who wants to come on. Will be for literally 11-12 minutes. I'm shutting off, have to shut off at 9. Sky, as AJ always said, it was only David Price that knocked him down in sparring. Yeah, and he was always honest about that one. So that kind of leads me to believe, if you're going to admit to one, why would you not admit to the other? Especially when it's better that Daniel Dubois knocked you down in sparring, because he probably had a higher trajectory and a higher ceiling than David Price. Like, at that point, Price would have been a bit more washed. And it's like, oh, but you're getting knocked down by him. How good are you really? Whereas Daniel was supposed to be the new hot thing on campus. So yeah, it's my opinion. I think what else has happened over the last couple of days. I haven't been keeping up with a huge amount of the boxing news. Obviously, I think I spoke a little bit about Moses Atama on Tuesday, and obviously he was on TalkSport, I think yesterday. I think Hamza Shiraz was on there earlier on today. Eddie Hearn was on TalkSport with Simon Jordan, so they seem to be a bit more cordial. I think I spoke about the Ben Shalom being on TalkSport on Tuesday as well. Oh, thank you very much. No, we haven't discussed it, but we did mention it at the start. So yeah, we can kind of talk about that. So I actually went on the WBA website yesterday, because when I saw the the graphic to say, oh, Chris Billam-Smith against Zurdo and Oscar Duarte against I can't remember who Oscar Duarte was, but it's but William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer, and also I was like, oh, this is a good, and Turki Al Sheikh said, yeah, it will be a free card, and I went on the double because I remembered that there was supposed to be a purse bid on the 26th of August for Zurdo Ramirez and Junior Dorticos, but I went on there. It was supposed to be the 27th, sorry, but I went on the website, and on the 26th, the WBA said that they had granted 10-day extension. So both teams had asked for a 10-day extension, and that they would obviously call purse bids after that if no deal was reached. I'm pretty certain if that is the case, especially if Turki has had his influence, that maybe Dorticos has accepted step aside, or he's about to accept step aside. Maybe he hasn't quite done so yet. And if that's the case, then we'll give Billam-Smith a bit of grace for not taking the Opetaia fight, although he says that part of the reason why he wouldn't have been ready is because he was away with family in America for the school holidays. That could be that could be a fair assessment. I also haven't seen the entire video, but I also heard him talking a bit spicy about Jai Opetaia. Yeah, he's a good boxer and stuff, but he's only got one good name on his record. I was like, whoa, okay, so we're doing that kind of talk. So now, look, if you're going to talk about names on records, I would say Billam-Smith has a better body of work overall, but I'm sorry, Mairis Briedis knocks out every single person on your record. I think he even knocks out Richard Riakporhe. The version that the Briedis from the first fight, the one inactivity, I think he deals with him. This Briedis coming off of inactivity again, I think he deals with him. Like, Briedis commands respect, and I think Briedis beats Chris Billam-Smith, and I think he beats Riakporhe. I think he beats Masternak. I think he beats the Irish kid whose name has escaped me. I think Briedis beats Okolie. I know Okolie wanted him for a long time. I think Briedis beats him as well. So yeah, ultimately, he may only have Briedis on his record, but his best win is still better than any of yours, in my opinion. It's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think a lot of people agree with me. Karma says that sounds like duck language. Yeah, definitely sounds like that to me. That Briedis win is a great win, both of them. And you think about it, I remember everyone said, oh yeah, Opetaia's going to knock out Briedis in the rematch. I said, no, Opetaia's going to win. He's going to win on points, but he's going to have to come through a crisis again. I said it. The video's up there. I said Briedis will not allow himself to get stopped, and he'll start late, but he'll get into his bag like late on in the fight, and basically just try and give it one last surge. And Opetaia's gonna have to come through some problematic moments. That's what I said, and it played out exactly that. You can see AJ holding back the laughter when Frank said he gave Usyk his toughest fight. Dubois was down after 7 rounds on every scorecard, and probably 2 10-8 rounds then get stopped. You know what the funny thing is about that fight? Every time I've watched that fight, I've scored every single round to Usyk except maybe round 5 where the low blow body shot happens, right? But since it's not counted as a down, it's not counted as a drop in, there's every argument to say that Usyk actually won that 5th round as well. You could literally say that Usyk swept every single round of the fight. Now you'd have to be very, very biased towards the Brit to give Daniel more than that 5th round. Maybe you might give him 1 or just because he did better than expected in that particular round. But I legit gave Usyk every round, and even that round, I said there was an argument to say that Usyk won that round as well. So, did you already talk about Hearn Boots? Yes, that happened just before this one. So When the stream starts, if you go back about 15 minutes, you'll see all that stuff there. But yeah, look, I mean, if Billam Smith and Zurdo Ramirez happens, I'm not gonna lie, I've got good money on Zurdo Ramirez winning that fight, especially seeing his fight against Gunnar Marian and his previous fight to that one against Joe Smith Jr. Yeah, obviously these are smaller guys, or Joe Smith is a smaller guy by comparison, but Zurdo's actually got good footwork. He can fight on the outside and he can fight on the inside as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins that fight. Obviously, the natural size of Billam Smith is going to be a problem, but Billam's not great against the southpaws, and Zurdo is going to know how to be able to box and move from the outside on. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not. Until the fight happens, I won't make any official predictions, but I would give good money. And if the odds, if I know odd makers, the odds would be very heavy in Billam Smith's favor. So I'd probably put down a 10 or 15 pound on Zurdo to win on points, and make money if that were to happen. So but again, if anyone disagrees, feel free. Okay, well, we're wrapping up. For anyone who needs to know where the socials is at, they're all down here. You can ignore the Cash App. I need to delete that because Cash App don't work in the UK no more. But yeah, Base the Kid, the Hardcore Casual on YouTube, as you've seen here. Twittex is B_A_S_E. Instagram and Threads, Base the Kid, and TikTok, basethekid.thc. Haven't really put anything on there in a little while. But yeah, obviously ignore the Cash App thing, but if people who drop super chats, I appreciate it. It's always respected, it's always loved. Let's see what Philip said. Do you think it's unfair that Usyk doesn't get a trilogy if he loses to Fury in the rematch? Well, technically, they didn't say he doesn't get a trilogy. He just said that it won't be the next fight because they want to do Fury versus AJ. If he waited around, I'm sure he would be in line to fight the winner afterwards. It wouldn't be for Undisputed, but I don't think at that point he would necessarily care because he's already done that. He just wants to fight and obviously, bring glory and honor to the country and have sort of, that type of stuff there. And ultimately, the thing is, and I said this on Undefeated Podcast on Monday when I typed in, when they were saying if AJ beats Usyk, if he beats Dubois and then beats Usyk, like, can he say that he's number one in this era? And it was like, well, kind of Usyk still done what he did was more impressive coming up from Cruz, etc. But AJ obviously would be the money man. But ultimately, as I said, Anthony Joshua will always be second to Usyk now, even if he wins. Because, okay, number one, Usyk has won 2 out of the 3 fights. So he's going to have that on you unless you do a best of 5, which ain't going to happen. But he beat Fury before you was able to beat Fury. He beat Dubois before you beat Dubois. Like, he basically did what you wanted to do before you were able to do it. So no matter how you look at it, he's always going to be the number one in this era, and you're always going to have to be number 2. And that's just, it's unfortunate, but that is what it is. What did you think of the promo, AJ? Oh, yeah, we spoke about that, Toby. I liked it. I liked what it symbolized, that boxing's dead and it's being resurrected and brought back to former glory. But a lot of people haven't liked how it came out. So, a man said run the best of 5. Proper WWE settings. Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. I thought they was going to do the best of 7, but it looks like they're just going to do a 5 series on that. All right, but look, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, thank you very much for all joining me and being here for the stream. It's much appreciated. I'm going to lock this one off now. I'm going to be looking to do, obviously, all of our stuff tomorrow. Basis picks will be out and all the other good stuff, as you guys normally will see. But until then, thank you for watching. Star Hardcore Casual, out.
Maybe I'ma make it, maybe I'm not. In time we'll see. But who better me? I don't care if you agree.
But who better than me?